Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. My name is Ken Shreve, today joined by my colleague Justin Nielsen. Really looking forward to getting Justin's take on the market action today. We had the NASDAQ 100 up 1.9%, the NASDAQ Composite up 1.5%. So big gains for the market today. Not as big for the Dow and the S&P 500, but another day of constructive trading. Before we get into all that, let me throw it over to Justin. Not too hard finding three stocks to watch today, I assume, Justin.
Yeah, it was a little bit more plentiful than we've had in a while. So yeah, we'll take a look at a few, including Cadence Design Systems, ASML in the chip space, a lot of action there, and then also Netflix.
Yeah, nice. Netflix, one of the top gainers on the NASDAQ today in terms of percentage gain. So why don't we start by taking a look at the NASDAQ composite? We've been talking about kind of overhead supply issues for the indexes and indexes trying to get above resistance levels. That's really not the case with the NASDAQ. I mean, it just kind of shot up and now it seems to have its sights set on 13,000 here.
Yeah, the Nasdaq Composite has just been so strong, and again, the biggest issue that we've had is the whole participation part, where it seems like it's just been the market heavyweights, the mega caps that have been dragging it forward. But we're finally getting a little bit more participation here. In fact, just one thing I'll throw in. Here real quick is this GMIAB, which shows the advanced decline line. And even though this is still pretty much in the doldrums, if you kind of draw a line here, you can see that we're starting to get above kind of the downtrend line that is on that advanced decline line. So that's a little bit of a promising thing.
Well, we were talking just before the show about the breadth on the Nasdaq today. We may be starting to see some green shoots, but last I checked, near the close, it was about 2,300 up and 20 to 2,000 down. So a very, very small advantage that advancing stocks had versus decliners. So breadth not impressive at all on the Nasdaq today, but we'll continue to monitor that. You'd expect it on a day like today with 1.5, 1.9% gains to be at least 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1, but we
Yeah.
weren't anywhere near that.
And I'll be honest, I was surprised because when you look at here's the Qs, Nasdaq 100,
Hmm.
as represented by QQQ, which again is even stronger than the Nasdaq. No problem getting into new high territory here. But if you look at the
Market
QQEW,
cap market cap weighted index here, so Apple
market cap
still has
weighted
a pretty
index,
has
right,
a pretty big weighting here, but
and
then.
and the Nasdaq 100 also excludes financial stocks.
Mhm.
So, it didn't suffer as much during this whole bank thing as financial stocks were getting hit. But if you look at the QQEW, the equal weighted, this is finally breaking a downtrend. So it was nice participation here, 1.63%. So again, it was a little surprising that the equal weight was doing so well when, as you said, the advancers versus decliners wasn't necessarily showing that much
Yeah,
action.
a little bit perplexing, but anyway, I mean, this is a very strong technical move. I mean, you don't have to be a expert and well versed in technical analysis. You've got a heavy volume move over the 100 level, a breakout over a trend line, sort of a draw the line breakout here. So things looking pretty good on the Nasdaq here.
hmm And over on the S&P 500, it was not necessarily as strong, but it was up there, right around 1%, and it's just kind of clearing finally this area from the February 2nd high. That was an area of resistance that we hit up in April and May, couldn't surpass it, and the fact that we're getting back up to that 4,200 level, I think, is positive. And here we have the RSP, which is the equal weighted on the S&P 500. That's getting back above both the 50-day moving average line and the 200-day moving average line. So again, a potential break of a downtrend for the equal weighted indexes is something that I think is worth watching.
Yeah, I was expecting breadth to be a little better today on the S&P 500, but and even though it was a little better than the Nasdaq today, which isn't saying much, it was still
Right.
far below 2 to 1 positive. So advancers had a slight edge over decliners by a little bigger margin than the Nasdaq, but still well below 2 to 1.
hmm
All right, well that is. What do you think the market is so optimistic about here? Is this a matter of the market is just placing its bets that I mean we do have a Fed meeting coming up in June. Uh, a week ago the chances of a quarter point rate hike were hardly not very good at all, and the odds have been rising in recent days. So we could see a rate hike at the June meeting. Still seems to be a lot of uncertainty in the market, but we're seeing really positive action in the indexes here.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where the optimism is coming from because the Fed figures are certainly doing their best to make statements saying, "Hey, look, this, it's not the time to pause yet." I think that that was something that people were thinking that there could be a pause, but a lot of indications are that the Fed members are not ready to put a pause in place yet. And of course, there's been the debt ceiling talks, the
Hmm.
overhang there. I'm not sure how many people have really been seriously concerned by that. I don't think anyone truly believes that the U.S. is going to default
Right.
on their debt. I think it's the expectation that no one wants that to happen. Because of the disasters that follow along with it. But certainly, I guess as more positive talk is coming out, that did buoy investors. Maybe it was just. Pent up buying that they wanted to buy and they were just waiting for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then maybe a little bit of uncertainty too, fading in the financial sector as well. It just seems like
Yeah,
the daily headlines are not so focused on possible financial contagion after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. So
you
maybe
know,
seeing some green shoots in the financial sector as well. We'll have to see.
that's a very good point because here's the Russell 2000 looking at the iShares, Russell 2000 ETF, and we got above the 200-day moving, I mean the 50-day moving average line yesterday, continued moving higher today, so up over 0.5%. And look, the regional banks are a pretty decent weight here. You've got over 200 banks in the Russell 2000, and yeah, that's a pretty decent amount. So looking at KRE, you can see that. I mean, there was a decent move there yesterday and a continuation today. So that could be um, part of the optimism here, as you said, Ken.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we haven't addressed yet is kind of quiet volume in the market today. It was below average yesterday. What we saw Wednesday actually was higher than the prior session, but today it looks like it's going to be very very close to what we saw yesterday. So not sure we're seeing a whole lot of conviction behind the buying here, but we are in a confirmed uptrend, and market tide seems to be flowing positive. So a decent environment to be increasing your exposure gradually, and just look for positive feedback from new purchases. Are they making progress from your entry? So, all right, ready to talk some individual stocks here. We maybe we'll take a look at that SMH too, because there was a big day for semiconductor stocks um, after the Dow here.
Yeah, right. I just realized that I did kind of go all over the place, so I did want to make sure we hit the Dow since we always do. That is above the 50-day moving average line, but SMH, as you mentioned there, Ken. I mean, look at this. Once it crossed its 50-day moving average line earlier this week, it's been no stopping this one. And while SMH, this VanEck Semiconductor ETF, looks really strong, some of the individual names look even stronger. So you do still have some of the laggards that are weighing this down, but there's been a lot of strength in chip, and that's one of those things that we're a very chip reliant society now. So having those do well is something it's good for the economy.
Well, we're going to hear from Applied Materials after the close. That's a bellwether in the chip equipment group. But the performance of semiconductor stocks over the past few days has really been a sight to behold. So no surprise to see the Nasdaq acting as well as it is. All right, for individual stocks, well, we had some nice movers today. Let's take a look at Cadence Design. CDNS is the symbol here, and this wasn't an earnings report, but just a really solid move in volume above the 50-day moving average. That's a powerful move here.
Yeah, so not an earnings report for Cadence, but for its group mate Synopsys, it was an earnings report there. So probably a sympathy play. I mean, here Synopsys was up 8.6%, but Cadence was also showing very strong action. Again, here's something that got above its 50-day moving average line just today. This has got a lot of volume behind it. So even though volume was lacking overall, maybe this one had volume. And just taking a quick look at the weekly chart, one of the things to note here is that this EPS growth rate of 24% is Yeah, that's pretty strong, but it also has this earning stability of 3. This is a number from 1 to 99, the lower number being more stable. So this is what kind of earns this almost like a long-term leader status. When something has such stability of earnings and is able to just grow at this rate, 24% annually for such a long time, it's something that usually does lead to great things on a long-term basis. And here's a monthly chart just to kind of exemplify that. So Cadence, I mean, this is something that we've had our eye on, and we talked about the strength of the chips. Cadence does a lot of work. I mean, what they're designing really is for the chip sector,
Hmm.
so it's kind of a related technology there. And this was our stock of the day. Patrick Seitz, who does a bang up job on a lot of the stuff that's tech related. He wrote that article, so I would highly recommend for folks to take a look at that article, the IBD stock of the day on Cadence Design.
We may not be seeing volume in the broad market, at least on the NYSE and NASDAQ, but when you look through the growth screens today, whether it's a
Yeah.
name like Cadence Design or Synopsys, a lot of stock, a lot of growth stocks moving with some volume. So that is an encouraging sign. We can complain about the lack of breadth, and it is something to continue to monitor and pay attention to. To me, it could make for a weak foundation, but to see a lot of these growth stocks rallying with some volume again is, I think, just what the bulls want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at ASML. This is a Dutch chip equipment company. It's been really just a really not a well-known name, but a company with a great track record of execution. And look at here, another technical breakout with some volume, kind of sounding like a broken record here.
Right. And this actually kind of gave us an opportunity. We put this on the leaderboard product yesterday. Ken, of course, is a instrumental member of that team. So it had some good action yesterday, and look at that. There's that volume that we've been talking about, and followed up on it today. So what I really like is that there's been this strong action and follow up. This is something that we were lacking. We were seeing a lot of breakouts happen, but then the next day it would give it all back. So if we can continue to see some follow up here, that could be a very good sign. And this is again one of those chip bellwethers. The fact that it's back above its 50-day moving average line. This does look a little bit more like the SMH, so not up there as much as maybe say like an Nvidia, but certainly good action here. And this is where sometimes if you get in early on something like leaderboard did yesterday, this could be a chance to add instead of starting a position once it crosses this line. And so that's exactly what leaderboard did today. It was added to a higher weight in the model portfolio.
Yeah, and a good example of how a stock is giving you good feedback, because we added it yesterday, had a good close, ended above our entry, good follow through today with volume. So this is exactly what positive feedback is, and when we talk about getting positive feedback from one of
Yeah.
your stocks, so getting good feedback so far from ASML. All right,
I will
well,
say one other thing on the fundamental side here is that, whereas a lot of the chips have been showing some negative numbers, I mean, and ASML had a couple quarters of negative numbers there, but the estimates on this very strong going forward for 2023 and 2024, and a really good quarter this last quarter for the Q1.
all right. Well, last but certainly not least, the best percentage gainer in the Nasdaq 100 today was Netflix, up I think 9%.
Yeah.
At last check, another stock rising in volume here, and another technical breakout.
Yeah, so I do have to disclose that I do have some shares of this in my wife's account. She made me buy a single share about a year ago, so this has been one of the running jokes of IBD Live, and we actually added a couple more to her account. But this is something that had a nice pattern here, and it actually again kind of gave an opportunity for an early entry here as it crossed above this downtrend in the handle, and also got back above that 50-day moving average line. And so now it did touch just up to that, roughly 350 level and got turned away, but it didn't really lose much ground. And we saw a nice surge yesterday and even more volume behind it today. Now, one of the things that came out today was that they did did share some subscriber numbers, and the ad tier that they've just recently introduced has nearly 5 million subscribers, 5 million monthly subscribers. So that's something
Mhm.
that must have gotten investors excited. Now, this is a little bit extended at this point, but what I wanted to show is kind of this early entry opportunity and how that can kind of get you in a stock a little bit earlier. And sometimes, that can help out when something starts moving so quickly.
Well, Netflix is not the growth engine it once was. You look at results in recent quarters, and growth has really slowed. It
Yeah.
does have some pretty decent estimates for this year and next. They've been cutting costs like a lot of other companies, spending a lot less on original content. I know that. So, but this is a strong technical breakout. Reed Hastings, a high quality, very respected CEO. So I think Netflix is still a name worth watching here. All right, well that'll do it. Do it for today. We got one more trading day to go in the week. We've got a market in a strong uptrend here, and a lot of growth stocks, breaking out, and combination of strong fundamentals and technicals. So that's a pretty exciting environment. Be sure to join us on IBD Live tomorrow morning. Justin and I are contributors to the show. We go on the air around 6:20 a.m. Pacific time, 9:20 a.m. Eastern, just before the market open, and we go for a solid hour and a half every morning, just talking about the market, fundamentals, technicals. So investors.com/IBD Live to join us. And thanks very much for joining us today. And I think Allie will be back in the chair
Back.
tomorrow. Yeah, so look forward to seeing Allie, and we'll see you tomorrow.